Hello, beautiful Ellen.
Hello, beautiful Al. How are you?
Good names. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, really good. Excited to be here.
Um, Thank you so much for being part of the forest. And I'll get you to introduce yourself with
Yeah.
your words and in your way. But um, I'll give like a little precursor. Is that Ellen and I met maybe just over 12 months ago at the
Mm.
space where Michaela was running a Waiapna Indigenous healing workshop one Saturday, and the rest is history, really.
Yep, pretty much.
And it's been a beautiful Instagram relationship because in lockdown we can't actually see each other in person. So, and you're about to go off and be a magical mama as well. So,
Yeah,
what a massive wild ride 2020 has been.
literally the wildest. And nothing I could have ever imagined on New Year's Eve, you know? So it's been pretty crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So Ellen is a coach. She works with um, running different women's kind of circles and holding space for people. You do full moon ceremonies, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But I'll hand over to you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do and why you're in the forest.
Okay, so yes, my name is Ellen. Some people also like to call me Elle, or Ellie, which is really weird to me. But anyways, um, I'm a life coach. I like to say that I'm more of like a sacred space holder than a coach. I like to take women on experiences rather than, like sessions or calls or whatever. So yeah, like really just started doing my coaching business this year. I graduated last year with the Beautiful You Coaching Academy. And yeah, it's been an absolute wild ride. I really love holding space for women to like level up. And I have like a little thing that I call myself a radiant rebel. So I now have a group coaching experience called Radiant Rebel. And to me, that is all about sitting in our radiance, our brilliance, and becoming more ourselves than ever before with a little bit of like rebellion.
Mm.
And I'm not talking about rebellion as like a fuck you to the world. I'm talking about more of a rebellion of like taking back our own power, and really harnessing into what that rebellion feels like for us. Um, so yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. I've been earlier in the year, I was doing women's circles, full moon circles online. I've run circles before in person when that was a thing. And yeah, I've just finished up my first group coaching experience, and which was Radiant Rebel, and it was beautiful and amazing. And yeah, I've been dabbling with one-on-one coaching, but I think I'm actually going to give that a little bit of a break after I come back from maternity leave. And because working with women in groups is really my thing. And I think the reason why I do that is because I feel like we as women really need those safe containers, much like the forest, a safe container for everyone to come.
Yeah.
So for me, that was really important. And I had an experience earlier this year um, where I did facilitator training for holding space with Sammy, who is my beautiful life coach. And that experience for me, being surrounded by all these women that held me and saw me, and I felt completely safe and vulnerable with, and also learnt the aspects of holding space. I was like, this is my mission in life to
Mm.
really, really allow women to feel that way in space,
Yeah.
because I think for so long we've always been taught to tear each other down, and to live in a really hustle mode of like getting shit done and the grind kind of thing. And I think when you have support of people, not just like women with women, but just really supportive people around you, it transforms your life. So I literally had a moment where I was like bawling my eyes out because I love to cry, in the middle of like the circle, just thinking, I literally said, I can't believe this is my fucking life, and I want everyone to be able to experience this. So from that point onwards, I was like, well, that's my life mission, is to create spaces where people can come, muse together, feel safe, to speak out, and to know that a lot of the time that what you're going through, you're not alone in that. So I think that's really helped me a lot throughout this year, especially. So yeah, that's sort of what I do.
Yeah, it
in a
is.
really long way.
No, I love it. I love, I love that. And I think it is really interesting how, in Australia in particular, we have Tall Poppy. And so much of, I feel for young women is the idea of who's more successful, who's got a boyfriend, who's, getting married first, who's having children first. And we have this underlying, or we can have this underlying belief that we're not enough if we don't have the things that are being celebrated. But every milestone or every moment, and just being alive, is something to be celebrated.
Absolutely.
And coming into circle with women, it's just hit 11/11 as I'm talking about this, is a really beautiful way to solidify the truth of that.
Yeah.
And I think, I love that story about, you having a good cry and being held by women, because I don't know whether you saw my stories yesterday, but one of the reasons why I love creating spaces like this is a similar situation. I went to a crystal shop in Moonee Ponds, which is still there, weirdly enough, picked up something energetic, ended up going to my healing center at 9 o'clock at night before they were meant to close, and they stayed open for me and they healed me because I'd picked up some kind of karmic stuff. And that moment was huge for me, because I'd come from, Paralympic stuff and leaving the team and never hearing from anyone from the Australian Paralympic team again, to going into this beautiful safe space of women and being wrapped up. And that's why spaces like the forest are so important, because I feel like we, especially now with social media, you can live a pretty solo life.
Oh yeah.
You can hide away and just live this picture of what your life is, or you can come into spaces like Radiant Rebel or the forest, or the Covet, the Stargazers Covet, and work with and learn what love is again, like real love, not romantic love, but sister love.
Oh, I think sister love is so, for me, it was a huge pivotal point in my life. Like, we did like a thing in Radiant Rebel, and when I did Holding Space, about sister wounds, and I didn't realize how much that really affected me, because I was like, oh, I have really good girlfriends, I have a really good relationship with my mum and my sisters, and when it came up, I was like, wow, there's a lot of shit that I had unhealed. And I think you're so right as well about like who you are, your identity is determined on your status of where you're at on the timeline, like what box you've ticked off and what you're going for next. Because I'm 30 next year, and a lot of my friends are either buying houses or getting married or having children, and some of them aren't, and the people that aren't feel like they're kind of failing. And I'm like, no, like, you're doing exactly what you're meant to be doing. And then there's some of them that want all three things. Like, they want the marriage, they want the kids, they want the house, and they want the career. And it's just, it feels like a big race sometimes. So being able to come back into that space and like share with other people, like maybe where you're at and they can relate to. It's really beautiful when you have that, like that one moment, right? Like for you, it was that healing. And for me, it was literally like in the middle of a room crying full of women, just going, holy fuck. Like, and it's just one thing. And I think that's to me is the greatest, I don't even know, because I think people also think you have to do all the things to get to the place that you want to be at, right? And you have to heal yourself, you have to fix yourself, you have to, look externally outside of you. But I literally gifted myself this weekend away, and And, you know, I paid it off. So I wasn't like just forking out money. I paid it off. I was like, this is a commitment to myself. And it was like literally that one thing of like, I'm good. I'm worthy of this. Yes to my life. Yes to showing up. And the rest is history. And honestly, I mean, it happened before that, but this experience in particular really just changed my life. So yeah, it's wild what a space like this, and that you're I guess holding that space and providing this space for people, it will fucking transform your life.
Yeah.
Even if you think it's like the smallest thing ever or the biggest thing ever, you will come out of this just being like a huge big exhale.
It's like I say to a lot of my clients, once you know you can't go back.
Oh, I always say that too. It's like once the wool has been pulled off, babe, like there is no, like you cannot put that wool back on. Like, you know, it's Maya Angelou, or she's like, when you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
So it's like you literally you can't go back from that. And that's what I think sometimes holds people back as well, because they know that once they get into that space, their life is going to be changed for the better, and they're like, oh fuck, like yeah. And that's why we're so resistant. I was resistant for so long, you know. Yeah, I have been resistant, but now I'm like, nah, any opportunity that I get to be around other incredible people, I'm there. Like, yes. And I get to meet amazing women and like people all the time now. And I'm like, what the hell is life?
Yeah,
so crazy.
My job. Wow.
Literally, like I remember one of the women from Radiant Rebel was like, we've literally had 5 calls. And this was on our last call. And she was like, so much has changed for me in 5 calls. And I was like, when you say it like that, it's kind of bizarre, because it's like 5 fucking calls, like 5 2-hour calls a fortnight.
Yeah, it just, you can't even really, I don't know, explain.
No limitation on it. Like there's just, it's wild.
The potency of coming together, and and they used to do it with Red Tent. If we think about,
absolutely,
in Avalon living in the commune, like they would come together in circle together there, and it's not. This is not like old news. This is not old news. I mean, it's like it's not a new thing. For people to come in and for men too, like men's sheds.
Absolutely.
And places like where they can celebrate LGBTIQ plus, like Mardi Gras and all that kind of stuff. Those places are where transformation happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
So I mentioned this just before we started recording, and because the next question is, what does a day in the life of an intuitive look like? And you were like, I wouldn't call myself an intuitive. But I truly believe that everyone is, and that we all have the ability to tap into that innate kind of knowing within ourselves, and you can call it intuitive, you can call it psychic, you can call it just like inner knowing or whatever. But how do you know you're in that space, and how do you use that beautiful magic in your circles and with what you do? We've been trained as coaches, and we're being taught certain questions, sequences and all that kind of stuff, but often the question sequences are not what are the most powerful part of the session. That's the intuitive part. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you said that, because I remember when I first started coaching, I'd be like, step by step, and I was like, this isn't working for me. I was like, this is shit. I was like, I don't feel juiced up about this. I don't feel excited. My clients, I feel like, there's relevance to some of it, relevance to like none of it. And so I just sort of was like, oh, fuck it. I'm just going to go into a session and be like, hey, babe, we're changing it up. We're going to literally speak about what is on your heart, and we're going to go from there. And I think for me, it's the same sort of concept, right? Like, I firmly believe that when we are, I guess, servicing and loving on ourselves and taking those moments, gifting ourselves, because I really feel like people don't often gift themselves just like some stillness.
Mm.
So when I gift myself that, which is something that I've been doing every day the last, I guess, 3 or 4 weeks, is really gifting myself like maybe half an hour in the morning if I can. And just, yeah, sort of asking myself, like, what does my inner guidance want me to know today? What do I need? Like this morning, I did my breath work, and then I was like, do I want to go and get a cup of coffee and fruit toast? Do I not? I don't know. And then I was like, you know what? Yeah, I do, because I'm going to have a baby in 8 weeks and I'm not going to have time to do that. So fuck it, we'll just live our best life. And that's how I work with my clients. It's not about me, and you would know this too, it's not about us giving people answers. We just hold the container for them to really dive deeper into themselves. And we also, as people, as humans, as intuitives, as, you know, starseed souls, whatever you want to call us, we have that ability as well to do that for ourselves. And I think that's something that I've only really learnt recently, that I don't necessarily need, you know, for instance, like I was like, oh, I need to go and see a psychologist about my daddy issues. And I was like, you know what? Actually, no, I don't, because I'm okay with the situation. I have like a really good relationship with my dad. But, you know, I thought that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
So I thought that's what I had to do. I didn't actually ask myself, like, Al, what do you want to do? What feels good for you? And so a day in the life of an intuitive is honestly asking yourself questions like, how do I want to feel today? What do I need to work through? And sometimes that can be using tools like breath work or cards or meditation or listening to the birds, or, you know, getting outside and, you know, sitting with your cup of tea in complete silence, or putting on some music, dancing. Like, I love to have a boogie because, you know, it's that to me is, and it changes every day. So, and I also think for me as well, personally, I started to really just get honest with myself. And I think that's also a really hard thing to do, is get honest. And I removed alcohol from my life because I was like, nah, this is not doing it for me.
Yeah.
I was like, it's actually dulling me down and dimming my light. So that was a huge sacrifice. I mean, it's not a sacrifice now, I couldn't give two shits, but it really played with who I thought I was. So again, it was like, okay, are we getting the quality that we need from this? Does this feel good for me? No? Well, then let's remove it and see what happens. So literally every day is like, wake up, ask myself a few questions. And again, I do the same thing with my clients. I don't make them come into a session and be like, okay, this is what we're going to do, before I actually ask them maybe how their heart is feeling, how their body is feeling, what's been going on, like genuinely, how are you going? And then I think we can work on that, because I think there is power in us using our voices to really express how we feel, especially in the presence of someone else. So yeah, those safe spaces.
And holding safe space for yourself as well.
100%. Yeah, I literally, the amount of shadow shit that's come up, I'm like, oh my God. I'm just like, I just can't believe it. Like, you know what it's like when you think you've dealt with a situation, and then maybe you do, like, I don't know, something happens and you pull a card and you're like, oh shit, didn't know that was still there. Like, and knowing that it's actually okay. And I think for me, especially around alcohol, identity, past things, family, it was like, it's okay to feel all of this. Like, you're literally only just starting to tap into this and heal. Like, you for so long weren't doing that. And knowing that it's safe for me to have those experiences and maybe share them with close people. Like, I will often share them with Luke, my partner. Sometimes I won't. And sometimes my journal is the only person that knows. And I said that to a client the other day. I was like, you literally don't have to tell anyone anything. You can just write it down for yourself, because that's for you. It's not for anyone else. So yeah, asking yourself lots of questions. You know, sometimes walking around the house going,
I love that
Yeah.
so much. I love that idea of, you know, it just being for yourself, because I think sometimes we can fall into having to share every part of ourselves, but some people
Yep.
can't hold that for us.
No.
You know, a friend of mine, when I was going through a really tough kind of relationship transition, I think it was earlier this year or late last year, said to me, why would you tell this person those things if they can no longer hold your heart?
Mm,
And that has been transformative for me, because I'm a sharer because of the work that I
same.
do. So and the relationship was a really close relationship. It's not anymore. So it was a learning curve for, well, I used to tell this person everything, but now the walls have gone up between us. So why would I still be, it's like, do they still deserve to know all the things within me?
Hmm.
And I love the idea of, I just want to kind of backpedal a little bit to what you mentioned in terms of um, like asking yourself the questions, and asking yourself the question of, oh, I need to go and see it. Do I need to go and see a psychologist because of my daddy issues? And then realizing you don't, because so often our ego is telling us that we need to fix something, but in truth, we're actually fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're whole exactly as we are. I mean, I've seen psychologists in the past and, done all of that as well. Like I've needed to. And but right now in this very moment in my life, I was like, I think that's what I needed to do. And I automatically went to that. Instead of actually just taking a moment. And the biggest thing for me that I've learned this year is that kindness and compassionate um, love for me personally and the people involved as well.
Mm.
So like when Gala Darling does the tapping and it's like, I love myself, I forgive myself, and maybe everyone else too.
Yeah.
Like that is for me, like, okay, I have to really be like, be kind, show yourself the same love and compassion that you would show your friends, your partner, your client, the people in your life. Do that for you
Yes.
and know that you can do that for them too. It's not always, for me, I was very reactive,
Mm.
always reacting to things and not actually, you know, listening or receiving or doing it in a way that felt nice and okay for me. You can still use your voice
Mm.
and still express yourself and still look after yourself and heal yourself in ways that feel really good.
Mm.
They don't have to be like, I used to just get angry all the time because that was my conditioning. That's sort of how my family worked. It was like fight fire with fire kind of thing. So now I'm just like, actually, no, I would rather, and I think this is from Glennon Doyle's book. She's like, if you ever have an opportunity to disappoint yourself or someone else, disappoint someone else.
Yes.
Because, with yourself, especially when it comes to people, boundaries, relationships, uh, life, really, even with yourself, sometimes like creating those boundaries around what you feel. Yeah, it was super interesting when I read that, and I was like, no, I've never thought about that before, because
Mm.
we're always so, I feel like, me personally, being an empath and a sensitive person, like I'm always really concerned about other people and their
Oh,
feelings, and it
well,
drives me
conditions,
insane.
you know, it's like Peter Kelly talks about family obligation in The Earth is Hiring, and
Yeah.
she talks a lot about, and I remember listening to I haven't actually never finished that book. I listened to the audio, like probably about half of it, and that, I kind of was done with the book after that, because I was like, that's what I needed to get from it, was that the family obligation. And it was really interesting for me, what I kind of experienced from listening to that, and then also in my life. And so I learned a lot about, when I had my knee replaced, you know, mum would come, the first replacement, mum would come in every night and give me my dinner at the hospital because the food isn't edible. And I would get a little bit annoyed because I was like, she's so tired. Like, why doesn't she just like go home and rest and blah, blah, blah. You know, my dad was having health issues, and my big sister was having, we
Yep.
like to do everything, you know, at one time, the Steele family.
Yep.
You know, and I'm like, why won't she just go home? And then I realized that she wasn't coming for me. she was coming because she's my mum and she couldn't go home and relax unless she knew her daughter who'd had a knee replacement was okay.
Absolutely.
And so instead it kind of flipped obligation on its head a bit. And because I thought she was playing out this like, oh, this has to happen. But
yeah, like I'm the saint. Let me
a bit of a martyr, but it actually wasn't coming from martyrdom. It was coming from motherdom, you know, this need to know that your child is okay no matter how old they are.
Yeah.
But what also came from listening to that piece about obligation was that we are allowed to, even if it's our family, we're allowed to say no.
Oh yeah.
But for me personally, it was about questioning why am I getting frustrated and why am I saying no? Is it because I am thinking they're trying to control me, or because like what I felt mum was doing, like this need to kind of smother or give me too much, or am I growing?
Yeah.
It's really interesting, I think. And I think also, you know, in relationships too, you know, we can sometimes we put our perception is over everything that we do. So what we believe about certain things is going to overshadow everything anyway, whether it's from a place of love or a place of not, you know, frustration or whatever your kind of, you know, default go-to is.
Definitely. I fully 100% agree with you. And when you're saying about the mother role, it's been really interesting for me being pregnant. And like I said to Luke, like my perception has changed on a lot of stuff, like how we want to live our lives, what we want to do, how we want to show up, how we want to, you know, show our daughter, like how it's safe for her to show up. And also that I have to stop being almost an obedient daughter to my parents and start being a fierce mum for my baby girl and for our family. And that is fucking wild. Like it's literally like things are coming up for me and I'm like, absolutely not having it. Whereas before I would, again, that obligation of being the obedient daughter and be like, oh yeah, it's fine, even when it's not. So now, I don't know, I'm like this lioness in a mama bear, just like, raw. I'm like, fuck no, like we're not having this. And it's been incredible. And I know it's only going to get next level when she's here. So it's so true. Even in like Luke and I's relationship, like I'm just like honest, more open, like communicate more, because there's no point in me dimming how I feel, dimming what is like maybe bubbling on the surface, nothing. Because there's no time for it. Like we need to keep showing up and speaking and using our voices in the kindest and most compassionate way. And I think that's where having that time for yourself and going inward and that stillness can really allow you to do that in a really beautiful way. It doesn't have to be like a fuck you, you know, that rebellious way. It could be a radiant rebellion in itself because you're choosing you. And I think that's what it's all about. Like you said, with the growth with your mum and stuff. Like just,
it's kind of in that moment, will I allow myself to set myself free so that I can set them free too?
Oh yes, 100%. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and put down all of my baggage for what I believe this is. Yeah, because
that's right.
I mean,
sometimes we can get in our heads too about this actual situation, like you said, and it's not actually happening. Like the thing, it's not happening. Like what is playing out actually isn't what's going on in here. So we can, and that's for me the biggest thing I've done this year is call myself out on my bullshit a lot of the time, and that is so hard. And you're like, you're acting like an idiot, and you're like, no, I'm not, I'm being realistic. And then you're like, actually you are. Like you need to calm down, like have a think about this. Is it, you know, is this your conditioning or is this actually happening? Like, do you believe this to be true or is it not true? So there's been a lot of like, if you were a fly on the wall in my house, you would see a lot of conversation between myself, like just you know, in my own head or out aloud, writing it down, and it feels good to do it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, we have
It's
to sometimes.
I believe that's true bravery to actually allow yourself to delve into your own bullshit is like
So rough.
if you're
When you've like
listening,
you pushed it back for like 29 years, like, nah, it's good.
yeah. I love this because it's kind of like a bit of a segue. Is it, you know, like, so what kind of advice do you have for people who are wanting to, yeah, do that work, and others, like people that want to connect to themselves? I call it self-connection, you know, like actually burrowing in and working out, is it true? Is it really what I believe?
Mm.
Mm.
Oh man. Um I'm just thinking about all the things that 2020 to me just seems like the most crazy year. So much has happened to me. I don't, for me personally, like where it all started, and I think really truly I've only really just started doing this work myself this year. Like hands down, like I've dabbled in it, I've brushed on the surface, but like fully digging down. And it started with removing things like alcohol, cigarettes, drugs from my life. It made me realize then, okay, maybe there's some people in my life that I actually don't need to be associated with anymore. Luke and I actually moved as well. And not saying that like you have to like pack up your whole life, cut people out of your life, but this is just my own experience. Like it just, I truly believe that like your environment as well can really play a big part on, yeah, getting to know yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, for me it was just like removing those things, and just really, I think I just really started to say no.
Yeah.
I started to say no, and I know that's so cliche, everyone's always like, say no, but like I actually did. I started saying no to like alcohol because it was never a good fucking idea for me. Like it never brought me to my highest potential or to joy or anything. It always brought me way back down. And saying no to going places, like again, going back to that environment, saying no to maybe seeing people in certain places. And just really, I was taking time for myself. I was reading books, I was getting out in nature, um, you know, just like even cleaning out my cupboards. Like, I know that sounds so weird, but just like literally completely giving myself the space I needed.
Well,
Um,
like cleaning out things, cleaning out clothes that you've had for that are not you anymore.
yeah, I'm gonna do it like after this.
Oh,
I'm like, whoop, another haul. Because again, I'm transforming again, like into a mum. Like I'm not the maiden anymore. I'm going to be Mama L. And I'm like, I need to get rid of some of my nightclub clothes that I don't wear anymore. That I will never probably wear.
But that's really interesting in itself, because when you posted your photos of you working at Mac,
Oh my God.
last week, you don't even look like the same. You look like a completely different person. Although I would love to know some of those techniques that obviously you know about makeup. But it was just, yeah, and I look at even things like I don't know if you can see behind like the yellow cap. That's me training for Sydney, but the photo next to it's probably a little bit too far away. But that's me after my race in Sydney. I'm a completely different person.
Yeah.
And our body shows it.
Oh yeah.
You know,
100%.
you can see it in it's often interesting to me that people will often comment on me being, are you the youngest out of your siblings? And I'm in the middle, but they say you look the youngest, and I'm like, yeah, it's because I'm happy.
Yeah.
I don't have I have moments of anxiety and worry or whatever, but I genuinely don't give a shit.
Yep.
And the ease, when you work through ease and flow and you bring joy into your life and you adorn yourself as if you would be, you know, a queen in your life or a princess or whatever, your outer world reflects that. Your inner world reflects it because you're continually like unraveling stuff and clearing stuff, but your skin also reflects that as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like
Mm.
exactly what you said. When I stopped drinking alcohol, people were like, oh my God, you look so radiant. And I was like, I fucking feel radiant. I feel good. Like I feel so good. Like I can't tell you how many times I like wasted my life, my Sundays, my life being hungover, ordering Uber Eats twice a day, watching fucking Peaky Blinders, thinking like I hate my life. Why did I do that? And it was a point where I was like, okay, is this where my happiness can be capped at, or is there more? And I knew for me there was more. So yeah, started clearing out that stuff, owned up that maybe I did have a drinking problem. And that was really scary and hard for me because that actually runs through my family. So again, it wasn't just me, it was dealing with ancestral stuff of trauma and being like, holy fuck, like opening up a can of worms, like the book in Hocus Pocus when it opens up and it comes back to life. That's what I felt like. Literally, that's what I felt like. I was like, fuck. And, you know, then getting pregnant, I was just like, oh my God. Like Luke and I had spoken about it. We're like, you know, we'll give it a go, see if it happens. And it happened first fucking go. But in saying that, I stopped going out to pubs and started going to cacao ceremonies. I stopped going out for a Sunday sesh and, you know, started going to women's circles. So it was like I was really replacing things that felt like shit with things that really made me feel good. And I met so many incredible people, like going to Mackie's circle, the Waiapa work at the space. I was sober then and I would not have gone because I would have been like, oh, I'm hungover. I can't book that in. Just little things like that. It was like I started, you know, putting money into things that made me feel good, like even clothes, different clothes, skincare, like really random stuff. But the one thing that I always have done is, and I think this is a really beautiful way to, even on those really shitty dark days, which in my first couple of months of sobriety, I had a lot of, because it's a lot of old wounds come up, was my gratitude journal. And I don't realize actually how much it plays a part in my life because I just do it every day.
Yeah.
Do it every night. And recently I was like, why didn't I talk about this more? Because I feel like it truly transformed my life. Because for me, I'm a big believer in even on the darkest days, there is light. And I feel like I'm the wounded healer. So all my wounds that I've experienced, I therefore can teach other people how to do that. I've been doing heaps of breath work and I was really resistant to that as well because I was like, oh, like, how is that going to help me? It's just my breath. And now that I have some sort of connection to my body on a deeper way and my breath, and I've been doing tapping and sometimes just even sitting with just music on with my eyes closed, doing nothing. And I would never do that before.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was my birthday last week, and what you were saying about your internal and external world, I have never in my life felt so much love. And I'm not talking about, you know, just like surface based love. I'm talking about deep, delicious, soulful, like goosebumps, like love from the people in my life because I'm present. I felt it. And you know what? I remember writing in my journal, like the first month I got sober, like I want to call in just beautiful humans in my life. I literally think I just wrote, I just want like beautiful humans in my life. I just want women who get me. I want people who see me for who I am, that, you know, we can sit together and we can talk and we can have these experiences together. And I truly have that now. I fucking have that in so many capacities. And I think for me last week, that was a big realization of all the time that I've put into myself and all the times that I've put myself first. All the times that I've spoken my truth, all the times that I've been quiet, all the times that all the shit has come in and hit me like a ton of bricks at once. It has truly worked because I have an incredible amount of just abundance, love, and just in so long. I reckon for the first time really ever,
Yeah.
I truly feel amazing. And it's because I've gifted myself that time. I love myself. And I know that's also cliche, but I'm saying yes to me every fucking time,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm saying no to other shit that just doesn't bring me anything. It's like, for me, like having a space, having stillness, calling yourself out on your bullshit, because other people might not do that.
Yeah.
You know, they'll tiptoe around you, especially the people that want to keep you small.
They want to keep you safe because.
But yeah, it's been a time. Yeah, absolutely. They want to keep you small, and that's it. And I think my biggest advice is just ask yourself questions. Get really still with yourself, even if it's going for a walk or if it's having a bath, even in the shower, making a cup of tea, creating, you know what I love? It's like making love to life, like weaving and dancing with life and soaking in that sweet nectar of life, you know, and we can do that in the simplest moments. It doesn't have to be, right, I have to sit down for an hour on my meditation cushion and go like, no, like you can do it while making a cuppa. You can do it, you know, even like on your lunch break at your muggle job, you know, 5 minutes of tapping or putting on fucking Beyonce if that's what you want, you know. So gifting yourself time and knowing that you're worth it, that to me, I think is the advice that I could give.
I love that because I love that because my next question was going to be, what advice do you have for people in the forest? But maybe that's your advice.
I just think too, just embrace every fucking minute of it. You know, don't anticipate, don't predict, you know. And you know what? Another thing, show up for yourself, show up as you, even if it feels really fucking uncomfortable, because you might get to a point where, you know, the forest is over and you have this self-realization, go, fuck, I didn't show up nearly as much as I wanted to. So full permission, this is me, like full permission for you to just step into this space, lap it up, like soak up all the goodness, connect with people, because for me, community is huge. I love people, and just, yeah, show up as you. That literally, and know that there is nothing more or nothing less than you ever have to be, but who you are. Because, you know, sometimes we're told we're too much, sometimes we're told we're not enough, but you are fucking perfect however you. And yeah, just don't dim yourself, don't dim the experience, just go in, just wrap it up. So like, honestly, there's nothing better.
Yeah
just yum. Drink it up, slurp it up, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? It's just have no expectations on yourself. Just go in.
Yeah.
Deep dive into the forest.
Deep dive. So how can we find you, Ellen? Where do you live online? Like, how can we come and play with you?
Oh my God. So Instagram olds, because like we love Insta. I'm mostly on Instagram, and that's Ellen, ELLEN Mohan, MOHAN. And you can also jump on my website as well, which is ellenmohan.com. But mostly Instagram. I'm always up for a chat in the DMs. And yeah, there's you can find all like how you can work with me on Instagram as well. I mean, not on Instagram. I mean, you can, but on my website as well. So yeah, but I'm going on maternity leave, so I am having some space. I don't know when. It was meant to be next week, but I feel like it might be in a couple of weeks. I'm just trusting that the right time will drop in. But yes, definitely still will be on Insta, because what else am I going to do?
Just like educate your child.
literally like talk to her. I just sit in her room like every afternoon. That's like our little ritual at the moment, is just sitting in her room on a rocking chair, listening to music. So, but yeah, that's where you can find me, and come and say hi, because I honestly really love talking to people. I love hearing people's stories. And yeah, I'm really fucking grateful for this life and for this experience, and for you, Al. And do you know what? Actually, when you were talking about how we met, I used to follow Al like way back. I feel when you used to work at our Satellite's Heart, and you used to do the intuitive readings on there.
That's like a really long time ago.
That is a long time ago, and I remember following you and being like, sometimes I'd like ask a little question. So I just think it's wild. And then I remember like being at the space and like to myself, no one else. And yeah, there you go. So that's a little fun fact for you.
Oh my God, I love that. I've got, well, John, who is going to be our monthly intuitive, he's giving readings. I actually met him at High Point. He came up to me at like Platypus or wherever. He used to work in a shoe shop, and he was like, "Are you Al?" And I was like, "Yes."
Yeah.
And we became friends, and it was a similar, he'd been following for so long. I'm so blessed to have such beautiful community that, you know, have been around for a long time. We're a little fam, Instagram fam.
That's it. And what a trip, you being like, "Yes, I am Al." Like
my little sister was like, "Oh, I'll get this in size 7."
like, never mind you.
I'm like, no, I'm being recognized, Fridge. Like,
I'm actually Insta famous now, so if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I love that so much. But that's it. That's it. Embrace the people that come into your life.
Yeah.
You know, you'll know if they're there for a good time or a long time or a short time.
Yeah. And the people that are coming into this are all coming into this now so we can collectively heal together.
I'm so excited for everyone. I know
don't join this because they're not ready for this energy. You know, it's I love it.
I'm really excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for chatting to me. And yes, make sure you go and follow Ellen. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now.